Alright, so there you go. There's actually just a practical number that you can literally just take and implement right now. Alright, hey guys, so in this video, really I just wanted to answer a question really quick that I just get over and over and over again, because I'm starting to do a little bit more communication with you guys. So I had an event, I think it was Thursday, yeah, because today's Sunday, so I had an event on Thursday. I've been getting on a few calls with you and just getting DMs all the time, and kind of going through that and seeing what is the one thing that a lot of people are just struggling with the most, so that I can just answer that. That's kind of how I want to actually push out these videos. And a lot of people kind of get the whole thing of building a store, building a brand, yada yada yada. That's a completely different conversation, and one that I think we've had a few times. But then people just want to get into running ads, and the first thing that they ask is how many ads should I be running to test a product? Okay, so I'm going to give you this answer just in a simple form, but I want you to understand that this is dependent on a lot of different things, and it is very situational. So with this, there is no one golden rule. A lot of people have very different strategies. Not that they don't work. A lot of people's strategies do work. Mine, I think that mine does from I've seen my own results. But mine might not work for you, and someone else's might. So I do just want to say that if you are watching a ton of people and you've got a lot of courses going and whatever, just stick with one. Even if it's not mine, if it's someone else's, rather just do that. Don't try and mix everyone's together and stuff like that. That I think is the quickest way to not get it right, because I did it myself. So yeah, I already messed up with that, so I'm just trying to stop you from doing that. But to get into mine and to get to the actual number, I would do 10 ad sets. Okay, so each campaign, just to give you some, I guess, structure on how I set it up, is within your Facebook Ads Manager, I will set up one campaign per product for a test. Okay, if it is winning, then we may attack different angles on how we can sell the product, because a lot of people don't know that you can actually set up multiple product pages for one product and attack it with different offers. Then I'll put that in each different campaign. But for testing a product, I'll do one campaign per product, and then I'll do 10 ad sets plus or minus to start. Why do I say plus or minus? Well, when I'm doing my audience research, which is a completely separate method that I'll get into perhaps a little bit in this video, but I may not find 10 interests, because I do what's called flex targeting. So I only will test one interest per ad set. I may narrow it down by engaged shoppers if the audience size is too big, but I don't like stacking a whole lot of interests up, because then I can't see what's working. Okay, but I may not find 10 interests which I think are worth me testing. Right? I may only find 6, but I may find 13 instead of 10. Then I'll do 13. The big thing here that I do want to point out is I spend at this point a minimum of $10 per day on an ad set. I know a lot of people preach the $5 per day, and I used to do it. I just think at this point, with the price of Facebook ads, for $5 a day, and even it's against Facebook's own recommendations on kind of how they structure what you spend versus what bids you're going to be able to get into. Facebook just is not really in line with that. Plus you see it yourself, because if you're spending $5 a day, you're not going to reach a vast number of people, which means you're just going to have to spend $5 a day for a longer period of time than $10 a day for a shorter period, which means you probably may end up spending the same thing just over different times. And at this point, I would much rather know if something's going to work or not in a shorter pace. But I have the budget to do that. So if you do have a constricted budget, just bear in mind that if you're doing $10 a day at 10 ad sets, that's $100 a day, okay, per product. So just think about that over a week. That's $700. So you don't want to just explode all of your budget at once. You want to pace it out if you don't have a lot of it. But still, I'd recommend just doing 10 ad sets, and then do an interest per ad set, possibly depending on audience size, which is completely different conversation we will be able to get into. Possibly narrow it down by engaged shoppers, so that you don't have this massive reach, and then be very general, so be very broad in your targeting, because at the moment I've said this so many times, but I don't like making assumptions. I don't think that anyone can, but if I'm looking at a product, I'm not going to buy it. Generally, a lot of the products which I sell is not something that I would buy, so I don't like to make the assumption that, oh, this is going to work and that's not. I'd rather just test it and see. Another quick value tip that I just want to put in here for you guys when you are looking for the actual interests, please use Facebook Audience Manager. The amount of people who like just run into ads, and when they're searching for interests, they just like think at the top of their heads what's going to work, and just type it in and then just press play and hope that it's going to work. It astounds me the lack of ability for people to put in time in actually getting this to work. Like, you want this to be a massive product game-changing thing, and you're not willing to spend 2-3 hours doing just audience research, is to me a bit amazing. And I don't want that to come off in the wrong way, but please just use Facebook Audience Manager. Don't think of interest off the top of your head. Come up with the first one, all right, that you think appeals to your product. Remember here, don't think about the product, think about the customer. Because the data that Facebook has, remember, it is a social network. Facebook is not a shopping platform. Although they are bringing a lot more of that into Facebook, but that's just them trying to compete with WeChat, which is a very different conversation we'll have. But regardless, at this point, they are a social platform. Any data which they collect, okay, is based on a person. What a person's interests are, what a person's activities are, their demographics, etc. Not a shopping platform. So you cannot be thinking about the product, you need to think of the person, right? So if you're trying to sell, if you're trying to sell a Barbie doll, let's just say, I don't know why that's the first product that came into my mind, but anyway, don't think about the product, think about the person, okay? So who's the person that's going to buy a Barbie doll? It's probably going to be a fairly young girl, okay? That's probably going to be your demographic. So now forget about the toy, okay? Think about that person. What would she be searching for and interacting on for that product? It will be Instagram because it has a young age demographic. So some of that stuff, you can use a bit of common sense, which another thing is not spoken about a lot, but have a bit of common sense. And in fact, I'm thinking this example is not something that I would actually sell because most likely, that person is not going to have buying power. Again, these are things, common sense. The people that buy Barbie dolls generally are not buying it themselves. Their mom or their dad is buying it for them, which creates a problem if you're an advertiser. Okay, because now you have to show ads to them and then they have to show it to their parents, which you have no control of. And it's also very difficult to track because the parent's going to buy it on their phone, not on the child's phone, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is not a product that I would sell, but it does, I guess, give a very good explanation of the amount of thought, structure and planning that has to go into behind this, because it's not just like we just run 10 ad sets and then that's how it works. It's rather run 5 valuable ad sets with a lot of thought, with a lot of research in, than go out and just run 10 just broad and general. It's much better to get very, very, very concentrated and specific than just be floating around all over the place. So yeah, that was just I know we ended up speaking about a ton of other stuff, but I'm trying to kind of provide the most context for where that number comes from and stuff like that. And generally that number really comes from, at $100 a day, it's going to take 10 days, which is what I would recommend for a product test. So I don't consider a product tested until you spend $1,000 on it. So over 10 days, which is a third of a month, plus minus, in just over a week, if you're running 10 ad sets, you will get that $1,000 ad spend. So that gives me just over a week to see if a product is going to be working or not. A week, 7 days, is Facebook's buyer's time frame to collect data. And Facebook also takes about 3 days after every alteration and change that you make to really start, I guess, getting the ad sets in line. So that's where my number comes from. That's why it's there. However, I do recommend running a couple ads before this just to test the ad copy. So 10 ad sets is just with one ad copy. Before this, I would recommend running just 3 ad sets on a fairly low budget, but very, very broad, just to test 3 different videos to see which one is the most appealing and which one has the highest CTR or click-through rate. I hope that makes sense. You don't have to really understand a lot of the stuff that I said. Just do the 10 ad sets. Just understand that that's the number. And yeah, probably not after this, but the video after this, because I'll be recording it now, will actually be back in South Africa. So that will be fairly interesting. But I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. If you're not already subscribed, it only takes 2 seconds. Please just hit that subscribe button now, so that you get all the notifications and you get to see more of the videos. Because if you are just going to take this to heart, I'd probably recommend doing a little bit more research into my strategy and stuff like that, so that you're not all over the place. So with that being said, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.